to Star Wars on High. Thank you for stopping by. We are back. And I got to tell you guys, with that video intro, one thing I don't like about it is it really seems to kind of like die off, like it goes from, it's like builds and it kind of is like, it's like, okay, I
I
don't
mean,
love
I
that.
think it's better than what we used to have. We had that whole system that just like decided to start slowing down every
Agreed.
time.
Yeah, it's an improvement, but we have some more work to do. Welcome, guys. Obviously, my name is Josh, and I am joined tonight, as always, by the rest of the Gabbing Gonks crew. We have Jimmy, co-pilot of Star Wars on High. Jimmy, how's your week going, my man?
It's going and it's going fast. It's already Thursday.
I know. It's great. That's a great point. This week has really flown by. Ben, Star Wars timeline, our wise elder Jedi master. How's your week going?
I wouldn't refer to him as any of those.
I'll go with Josh's version. No, I just today I was like sitting working my project, not thinking much about Star Wars other than that episode we're going to talk about today. But my friends called me from Moscow. The kids I grew up with, literally from when I was like little child, same street. They all gathered up in Moscow. Somebody came for like a project for work. Somebody else came for something, and I saw them all in one room. We like just Skyped each other. It was crazy, man.
Oh, that's cool.
So many
That's
happy
awesome.
memories. It felt really good.
What's the time difference?
8 hours, 7.5 with Moscow.
Okay. So
Yeah,
not a little time difference, but I guess workable. You can find
definitely.
some time.
Just,
Well,
the other side of the planet.
Yeah, just the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
Little small drive over there.
Mhm.
Well, guys, I am actually really excited to be here tonight. It's going to be a really fun stream because we had some details about the Vision Season 2, the various studios that were announced. So we're going to talk about every studio to let you guys know where those studios are from, maybe some projects you might be familiar with, and also maybe if you want to know what they've made so you can go check it out. Jimmy will have that kind of prep for you guys as well. So that's going to be one of the main topics. We're also going to talk about Bad Batch. We're going to talk a little bit about Jedi Survivor, which was delayed just a little bit. But first, I thought we could do some fun things here. So let me go ahead and just call out a couple of smaller items that I saw today that I thought were fun to talk about. Today is 10-year anniversary of Clone Wars episode The Lawless, which is one of like the most, I think, I don't know, these screenshots are everywhere. Like these are some of the most iconic shots that we have of the Clone Wars, right? We have the famous Obi-Wan and Sabine. We have,
That's Satine.
I'm sorry, thank you, Satine. We have this fantastic shot.
Oh,
I
remember that shot, man.
It's just the money shot. It's so good. And then of course we also have just on the side Palpatine and Savage and Maul all kind of going at it. That's just awesome. I love the mural, by the way, on the wall here of I don't know, some Mandalore culture. It's so good. This is just a classic episode. Just an absolutely fantastic. This shot is like, come on. How can you beat this? Such a great shot.
10 years ago.
10 years, I know. Isn't that crazy? I can't believe it's been 10 years.
Oh, boy.
Just 10 years ago?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, geez. I mean, I don't know. I love this episode. It's a great episode. I thought that was a fun.
I was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
It brings me back to my college days when George was just pitching the show, and we kind of got the inside scoop as I was in animation school here in New York. We got a lot of insiders and people talking about it. But for example, when the latest at that time, 2000s, CGI Ninja Turtle show was being in pre-production, we're already getting the buzz and scoop on it. When people started talking about the George Lucas's first television show, the big one, the CGI one, people couldn't figure out what to anticipate, what to wait for. And this particular episode just shows the absolute peak of his genius. Like it doesn't get better than this, man.
Yeah, it's a fantastic episode. One of my favorites. And yes, Palpatine does just kind of nonchalantly dual wield like extremely efficiently in this episode. And yes, the blue pig, I do think we're gonna get some claymation visions. We'll talk about that in a second, but I do think we're gonna get what's exciting about season 2, and I know we're gonna talk about it in all the detail, but it seems like we're gonna have very different styles than we got in season 1, which I think is a good thing. I think that's the whole point of this project, is to show you how different Star Wars stories can be told across different cultures and different styles. Okay, so that was the first kind of little fun piece of news to warm us up with. I have another one that I think most folks have probably seen by now, but it is just another new poster for Mando season 3. I've really liked the aesthetic they're going for with these posters. It's this kind of green and yellow, and I very much enjoy that. I think it's a very fun poster as well. Of
Kind
course,
of,
we have Grogu.
yeah. It kind of reminds me of the Lando side of the Last Shot book cover. It was like that green yellow.
Yeah, it has a lot of action in it too. He's just standing there with that very stoic pose, but
Yeah.
something that's just very, very dynamic image. I also enjoy
Agreed.
it a lot.
Yeah, agreed.
Kind of gives me like Evil Dead vibes a little bit. Just like
Yeah.
how
Yeah, I
he's
see
like
it.
just the pose in the front.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like it. It looks really, they're posters. It doesn't mean anything for the quality of the show, but I have really liked the aesthetic they're going for. And I like your point, Ben. There is a lot of action conveyed in just a simple pose like this. And we got Grogu chilling in the back cockpit here, which is kind of fun. March 1st, guys. It's less than a month away. That's very close.
It's coming up fast. We're gonna be
That is
busy.
very, very close. All right, guys, let's talk about Vision Season 2. All right, there's a lot of detail.
Season 2.
There's a lot of detail here. So first, I'm just going to share this visual that was given to us today, kind of out of nowhere, by the way, which was kind of fun. May the 4th of this year, we are getting Season 2. And these are all the various studios who are involved. So I'm going to go through and kind of call them out in the order they're listed and tell you where they're from. And if there's something that I know them for or recognize they've done, I'll call it out. Jimmy has some notes as well. Ben, if
I
you
got
have
many a note.
So if you happen to know anything, Ben, feel free to fly in here. And we'll take obviously pauses between each. But the first one is Cartoon Saloon. Cartoon Saloon. They are in Ireland. So this is our first Irish studio
in Kilkenny.
Kilkenny. So what's interesting about them is they've done some projects for Netflix. I think some more on the short film side. They have a very, and I'll go ahead and maybe grab a little bit of a preview of one of their works. But they have a little bit of reputation behind it. They have a little bit of some cachet built up in the streaming space right now on animated shorts. Jimmy, did you have anything you wanted to call out or you saw about the Cartoon Saloon that I missed?
So naturally, like I saw all of these, so obviously I had to go look them up to see like what kind of animation styles they had. Cartoon Saloon really caught my eye. That was, I think, the second studio I ended up looking up because the animation style or like the coloring was so pretty.
Yeah.
And like each short film, one of the things I think is going to be good about this is that all of these studios seem to be doing all these studios that they picked are like they're very prominent in short film creations. So I was going to say, one of the ones that I saw from Netflix is My Father's Dragon. They also have stuff like Wolf Walkers and The Breadwinner. They all have like a similar style of animation like this, but it varies and changes depending on like this type of story they're telling.
Yeah.
So I think this whole season of Visions is going to be some Star Wars stories like we've never seen before.
I agree.
Because, this is truly so many cultures from all around. And I mean, I'm sure we're going to get more seasons of Visions from other countries too. So I think this is important because, hey, look at that, the Wolfwalker.
And this gives you kind of a good taste to your point, Jimmy, on the colors. They have it's very texturally, I think it's very soft.
It's very bright. It's very fun.
Yeah. And obviously this is a kid's short that they did here. So you can see they lean into the fun design of these animals and that could be fun in Star Wars as well.
I think it's going to, in general, I think season 2 of Visions is going to be able to just expose a lot of Star Wars viewers to just like the different cultural styles of animation around the world and like what kind of stories they can bring into the world of Star Wars. And that's what I think is so great about it.
Yeah, this looks really cool. Ben, any initial thoughts you're kind of seeing for your first time, maybe? With
Absolutely. I'm blown away. B, when we started getting those micro animations on Disney for Kids on YouTube, introducing different heroes, I was clamoring for a completely hand-drawn animated show for Star Wars. I think it's very exciting. You guys know my background, but also another bit I wanted to bring into this, I'm a Soviet Union born kid, right? I was born in 81. And we just recently celebrated 50 years of this program that we used to have on television where kids every night would sit in front of the TV and there would be a program dedicated just for them. and it was called Visiting the Fairy Tale. And every evening you would get a piece of animated short like this. You would watch it, and then your parents, it would kind of signal it, hey, now you had this piece of fun. Now it's time to go to bed because school is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in that show, Russia, Soviet Union has produced some of the world-renowned animation in all different styles, and we as kids used to enjoy it. For example, you would have like a great heroic Greek myth or some Japanese folk tale done in claymation in completely different styles, claymation, puppets, all different visual flavors. And when I'm looking at this, I can't help but get excited for the rest of the fandom, where I think Visions is absolutely brilliant because it's opening the doors to so many different artistic directions to fans, and it will inspire a new generation of kids not to just love and enjoy and carry on with Star Wars, but say, hey, you know what? I want to be an animator. I want to produce something that looks like that. So I couldn't be more thrilled with it. This looks absolutely gorgeous. I love the fact that it has a very kind of like roundish and very soft color and very child-oriented kind of look, because sometimes you don't want things that look too hard, too gritty. Even like the Bad Batch, some of the stuff that we look at, maybe not the younger demographic. Not yet. This is kind of too advanced, but this has tons of potential.
Yeah, I really like it too. It looks like a really nice. I like, again, the word soft came to my mind too. It looks very inviting in a very positive way,
like a children's picture book.
Exactly. Yeah,
Definitely.
that's a great way. So that's Cartoon Saloon, over in Ireland. They have some art books as well. I saw on their website of these series, so they also seem to lean into that as well. So looks like a lot of fun. Anything else, Jimmy, you saw about Cartoon Saloon?
I'm just excited for it. Tell you that much.
Yeah. That sounds like a big win to me. So if we go back to our main demo here, the next one up was Punk Robot as a premiere. Now, Punk Robot, we found is in Chile. So this is our first Latin American studio. And that is I would be lying if I said I had any experience with, any of their animation before. So this will be a new ride for me. I will pull up their website real quick, which I think has some examples of the various.
Their website needs to be on the screen for this because they have so many different types of animation.
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
It looks like a lot of like claymation, and then there's some stop motion, but there's also some CG stuff in here that looks.
Oh man, just this looks wild.
Yeah, like this. I would love this kind of almost felt like animation.
Yeah, that would be so much fun.
Yeah, that looks very exciting to me. And you'll see we have. To your question, I think this is the stop animation one right here, which looks really nice.
And like you scroll down. Oh, okay, we can actually watch.
Oh, I guess it'll play a little preview here.
Wow, man! Oh, this is so dope.
This is fun.
Yeah,
and look how like smooth that is.
Yeah, like as an animation snob, I'm a video gamer. So I naturally love CGI art. But when you look at something like this, nothing can replicate the look of a claymation short. Nothing. You look like any of like Tim Burton's movies. You can't get the same effect with a feel with CGI. It's different.
Yeah, it is.
Now,
and what were you calling out, Jimmy?
I was going to say, like, so we got this bearded guy here, looks like Seth Rogen, and then this girl standing in the middle of the street. Like those two, like very bright, early Saturday morning cartoon vibe, But the top left, that short right there, I think it's called Bear Story, got nominated for a bunch of awards. If you see all that stuff there on the side, this kind of gives me like a Big Little Planet kind of vibe.
Oh, it does. That's a great call out, Jimmy. That's exactly what it reminds me of. And you'll see, it's got that very toy style. So I don't know what they're going to lean into. To our point, they seem to do a lot of different types of animation. So we probably will just get whatever they felt was the best for their.
Yeah, and that's what I think. Because like look like this right here. Yeah, like this is totally like Big Little Planet.
It does.
Or little
very creative, very out there. I love it when you combine something that look visually so out there that we're not used to, and you overlay a powerful Star Wars tale over it. Like I'm thinking already like Tales of the Jedi, like what we had with Dooku. Man, this would be just dynamite. It would just explode.
And something that I think is really interesting about it is like, since I don't know a lot about any of these studios. So I wonder if, like, that thing, the bear story there, it looks like it's kind of a story that's just told by what happens. Like, I don't know if, like, I wonder if we're going to get
Oh,
one
there's
of
no
these
dialogue.
shorts, like no dialogue. It's just the story and the music tells itself,
Yeah, that's a great call out. And what is interesting about Visions for both seasons, like I have come in with very little. There's one studio announced here that I am familiar with, but all these other ones will be just kind of okay. Like I'm open to what you want to tell me. And I think that is a real perk because we're not going to come up with any preconceptions or notions of what they
And
should
that's
be.
the other thing too. I was going to say, just because like these are the types of animation they do, we could get a story from them that's going to be completely different.
Totally true.
Yeah.
Very exciting. I am very, very, very much excited to look at this. So that was Chili. That was Punk Robot. Good times, good times. Then next on the list was now, Jimmy. What did you get? That I had this name as Studio Mir, MIR.
See, I thought Studio Mir.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Studio Mir, or maybe it is just Studio MIR.
Yeah,
do that.
and they are
South Korean.
Nice.
Now this studio. Let me say that one more time.
Get their site up here.
This studio.
All right.
They do a lot.
Yeah, they do a lot. And again,
they do a lot. They have their
South Korean's animation studios were popular for producing all the work of Japanese shows that would basically write, produce, and do key drawings for, and they would ship out a lot of animation from Japan. Actual anime that we saw that you may know as Japanese was actually animated in Korea, which once again makes me super hopeful.
What's really cool,
and like they've done a bunch of DC properties.
Yes, and they've also done League of Legends, which makes sense because it's huge in South Korea. They've done a bunch of League of Legends shorts. Yeah, and Dota. Yeah.
But yeah, so, they've worked on projects like let's see, I have Batman and Superman, Battle of the Super Sons, Batman Soul of the Dragon, Batman Death in the Family. They've done seasons of the Boondocks. They had a Guardians of the Galaxy show they worked on. Also, they had people from that studio that left and started a second studio that worked on projects that we have now, like the Harley Quinn show.
They have Witcher Nightmare of the Wolf too, which is that animated Netflix show. That's like that prequel one, it looks like.
Nothing but bangers.
Yeah, that is actually really cool. So this studio, this looks like it's a studio that is used to working with big IPs. If they've done Witcher, if they've done DC, if they've done League, if they've done Dota, they are not going to be intimidated by the moment in any way. And you're right, the Boondocks. You're right, the Boondock Saints here down there listing. So I am very. Oh, they worked on Legend of Korra as well. Woo, very cool. Very, very cool. So this studio, I think, is going to be, given its Asian influence being South Korean, I obviously expect it might be closer to what we saw in season one. So the other studios look a lot more really different, right? We have some kind of more animated. We have one that's more soft, hand-drawn. This one looks like it's going to be a whole different kind of vibe to it from South Korea.
This is going to be a bunch of comfort shorts. I guarantee it.
I am very curious, Jimmy, what like the tone, because the tone of season one was very mature in a lot of episodes. In fact, I would say more episodes were mature and somber than lighthearted. And so I wonder if this will kind of keep with that, if these studios have something more fun kind of in mind.
I really think Tatooine Rhapsody was the only one that was relatively more lighthearted than the rest of them.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Because even TOB1 was got pretty grim.
It did. Yeah, it did. Even though that was another one aimed more at the younger audience.
Also, aside from animation, Koreans' filmmaking in general was also very, very experimental and avant-garde. When they started doing mid 2010s, they did a lot of horror and psychological films. So imagine if we go with animated style, but actually a more gritty, a darker story that we didn't expect from.
Oh, that would, yeah, I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, I've seen some of the older psychological thrillers from Korea. There's one, I think it was called
Tales of Two Sisters was amazing.
I think it was called Apartment 356 or something like that. I saw.
Yeah, I remember that.
But the everyone someone died in this apartment at this time every day. That movie was wild. It was a good one.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, it's exciting, guys. I'm excited about this this studio. And again, I just knowing that they've worked with these IPs and done some really big things, including the Witcher show on Netflix. That's really cool. Animated Witcher show, just to be clear, the series, not the actual Henry Cavill live action one. Okay.
They recreated Henry Cavill from scratch.
Yeah, they did.
They
That's
cloned
right.
him.
Man, I'm in. I'm sold. All right. So that is Studio Mir or MIR or whatever it is. The next one I'm going to guess is the one that everyone is going to be probably the most familiar with.
I'm excited for this one.
Jimmy, tee us up. I'll get the screen going here.
Aardman. It's a studio based out of Britain, known for the very, very well-known shorts, TV series, movies, you name it. We've got Wallace and Gromit,
Yep.
Shaun the Sheep, and fan favorite Chicken Run.
Yep. This is the biggest studio I think that they've had on video. Well, maybe not the biggest, but this is one of the more recognized in the West animations. Also, I will tell you, as far as like, yes, Wallace and Gromit are like the big ones, right? Shaun the Sheep. I will tell you, Robin, which is like a little animated Christmas special they did on Netflix a couple years ago, is really good. It's really sweet, and they did this very, as you see, it's felt animation. It looks phenomenal. Has just a lot of charm to it. So I would recommend this if you have Netflix and you want a Christmas special for next year. It's a cute little 30-minute tale and very impressive animation, as you kind of see playing in the background here. These guys are this crew is next level good.
I saw a bunch of people sharing on Twitter. They're like, this is canon now. And apparently at some point someone had remade the fight between Palpatine and the Jedi in episode 3, but they replaced Palpatine with Wallace. So they're like, this is canon now. And like, I watched Wallace and Gromit on repeat as a kid.
I am like, this one feels like it's going to be a fun, lighthearted one just based on what they've done in the past. I'm very curious to see what kind of story they're going to tell. This has got to be this is going to be a fun one, I think. Ben, what do you think? I mean, you're probably very familiar with their work for many years now.
I'll kind of jump at it from a completely different perspective, not their actual portfolio work, but when I was in college at SVA, we actually had animators behind Wallace and Gromit travel over to the US to give a presentation in our school. I don't remember if Nick Park, the creator of Wallace and Gromit, was there himself, I'll be frank with you, but there were representatives there, and something terrible happened. That was like way back in 2005, 2 years before I graduated. Their studio was completely flooded and destroyed a lot of props, a lot of material, and a lot of film and footage that they actually stored Wallace and Gromit's episodes in. So you kind of imagine the studio that had to like bump back up from such a devastating kind of like, fire incident, and to see that reflect in their future animation. These guys I love creators that never stop in face of any sort of adversity, even if it's something technical like this. So now we couple that kind of spirit of innovation with Star Wars. Man, like obviously we project and we kind of look at the library, what they've created so far, but the key element of great storyteller is that he's not just comfortable with what he has done before, whether it's comedy or action. They can kind of be, men of old jobs and just completely transfer over to something different. And I can't wait to see how they tackle Star Wars, how creators with a very known and established library body of work can reinterpret something that we know and just put a new spin on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just kind of blown away here that Chicken Run came out in 2000. I can't believe the movie's that old.
That movie is so much fun.
It is. And they have a very, a lot of their projects have a very, I don't know. So I'm obviously not British, so I might be, feel free to correct me to our audience over the pond, but I've always found their humor to be like more British subtle humor, right? It's always kind of like, it's not the same kind of humor that we have over in the stateside, especially for their children's projects. And so I wonder if some of that will come through.
It's subtle and it's like always ironic, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Whole different flair. Steve, you have not missed a lot. We're just talking about these studios so far. We're only 4 in? Is this the 4th studio?
We did pass the Studio Mir.
So Studio Mir worked on, Legend of Korra, right? So they've been in the Avatar universe. Yes, we did. All right. So let's just recap quickly before we move forward. Let me go ahead and pull back up our master sheet here.
So we got
just to recap what we've talked about and what countries are represented so far. Because I'm sure, man, I imagine like if you're like in Chile and it's like you have your own style, you're like, man, we're getting like a big IP.
You're rooting,
like,
man.
Yeah, like you're rooting for it.
Yeah.
So We have Cartoon Saloon, that is based in Ireland. We have Punk Robot, who's based in Chile. Studio Mir MIR, who's based in South Korea. And then Aardman, who's based in the UK. So that's the first 4. And we have gone to a lot of different cultures already. Now
we're going to get into the fun stuff.
Next up on the list.
This is where the fun begins.
Jimmy, tee us up as I pull up their website. What's going on with Triggerfish?
Triggerfish is a studio based in South Africa.
Nice.
And they seem to be doing a lot of high-end CG animation on par with Pixar and DreamWorks.
Okay.
2 of the projects that I looked at that looked really amazing was a story called Kumba, which was about a zebra. I don't know much about it. Like I said, I haven't had time to watch it. I got off work. I made a list. I got down here. And then there's one called, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. I think it's Zambezia or Zambezia.
I think I see it right here.
Yeah. If you pull up like just like pictures from the animation, it's just gorgeous, incredible.
You're right. They do.
I got Madagascar vibes from it, mainly because it's a zebra. But I mean, like just like even like in the facial like features, if you say once it's up on the screen, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
This is their movie called SEAL Team, which I guess is on Netflix.
Okay. And I saw pictures of this one. I didn't get a name for it, so I didn't know what it was called.
I'm over here kind of chuckling at it because it does have Madagascar was a good kind of comparison. It does have that kind of vibe to it. It also has a little bit of it's obviously CGI animated, but it has a little more texture to it, at least in the small clip.
It's very. Yeah, you can see the stop.
There's also a pause in frames between animations. They're actually going for that 24 frame traditional animation look. That's why it's sort of emulating that stop motion look.
Yep. That's the words we were trying to look for.
That's exactly what I was trying to say. So thanks, man.
Well, you have the expert here, where Jimmy sooner or later will start acknowledging who's the Padawan here and who's the master, at least when it comes to animation terminology.
This movie looks kind of
fun.
I
once went 9 rounds with John L. Sullivan.
Nice. I'm in on the SEAL Team movie, by the way.
So guys, one thing I wanted to mention about this film is, and it's not to be critical. This obviously looks great, but I tend to look for more unique, original things from different countries. I don't like when, let's say, like a South African studio or a Russian studio tries to imitate Pixar on Disney. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like when it's from a particular culture, a particular country. I'm not saying they're supposed to represent only their culture all the time, but I don't like when it's obviously makes like a visual artistic overtures to something that is more familiar to us. Just to give you an example, there was one French animator who did a famous animated film back in 1998 called Kirikou and the Sorcerers. And it's about the small African prince who is a toddler, but according to the myth, their legend, he was already a hero. Even though he's like a little toddler, he runs around. It's also a 2D hand-drawn animated film. So even though it's produced and made by a French filmmaker, it taps into something like, a African myth and legend. And it was so in tune with their culture that they actually would not play it in Europe and the United States. They say, it
won't sell here.
Topless women there, it won't sell here. We don't want it here. But this is something that I want to see. If you are Disney, right? And you're going Vision season 2, or you're going to all of these different studios, I would want them to pick a style for this particular project that reflects their culture more.
Yeah, that's fair. I will point out too, when you're sitting here, I noticed they have this project on their upcoming list, which is pronounced Kizazi Moto with Generation Fire, which is an anthology of sci-fi short films for Disney Plus. So it seems like Disney is working with them on 2 projects. I don't know which of theirs, but some of these look really sick. In particular, this shot here looks really great. This
I like the native looking woman on the top.
It's really
dope.
I'm interested in this world that looks like it's built out of just metal. Like scraps.
Which one?
Almost.
On the bottom right.
On the bottom right.
Yeah.
I point to
already
my
looks like
screen like you can
something.
see it.
Yeah, interesting. So I don't know which of these are involved in, but they are working with Disney on some other projects. And it seems like they have some of their stuff obviously here on BBC, and so they're probably a pretty well-known studio in South Africa. So we'll see what they bring to the table with theirs. But this is going to be, regardless of what their, our assumption is that it's going to be kind of more almost in this kind of Pixar style animation. with a little bit
You
of
seals have been an
difference to your
amazing.
point, Ben. They've gone for almost a stop motion homage in their most recent film. So I wonder if they'll carry that over. But it'll be interesting. I don't know much about him besides this. So South Africa. So we have now got another continent. So we have South America, we have Europe, and we have Asia all represented right now, in Africa. So we have four continents.
And South America. Did you say South America?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
But
South America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. So we have four at this point. Waiting for that Antarctica production, but we'll have to keep waiting. So that is Triggerfish. Triggerfish. All right. Next up is so if I look at it, it looks like it says Dart Shitagio, but there's actually an apostrophe D Art. So I'm sure there's some way to be pronouncing this that I am not.
Dart.
My guess was Dart Shitagio.
I think that's probably
it's a Sith Lord name, guys, in short.
Pretty much. Based out of one of my favorite places, Tokyo, Japan.
Yep.
Nice.
Let me go.
So this is a classic anime studio.
Yeah.
Their own like works that they've personally worked on, because they've worked like with other studios. They've got things called Sound and Fury, The Doll, Indigo Ignited, and they've been involved with other studios who have worked on products that we've all heard or seen at one point, like Castlevania, Attack on Titan, One Piece, High School DxD. I wrote One Piece on here twice. Cool. I didn't know what the other one was going to be.
Looking at their website too, it looks like they've done collabs it looks like they worked on the weekends.
That was a music video.
Yeah.
That they did.
This looks really cool from these screenshots here. And this is an article, looks like, talking about some of the things that so this is really cool. It's on their home website here. So they have, you're right, Jimmy. It looks a lot more like a traditional kind of anime shop that we have in Tokyo. So very cool. Very cool. So this will probably feel very familiar to season 1, just looking at what they do. So interesting indeed. Interesting indeed. So, okay. I'm excited because I think season 1 was extremely strong. So I am all in for the anime Japanese studios because they delivered in season 1. Next up, oh goodness, another one's pronunciation that I can butcher.
Studio Lakache.
Studio Lakache. Can you guess where that is from, Ben? I'll give you a guess.
Israel.
No.
Incorrect.
That was completely random.
You're so wrong. I can't believe you now.
Lakache.
It's France.
France.
Obviously, the name is French, but it was just
of course, it's gotta be. It has gotta be.
From my research, they've got they have one on Netflix that I've seen promoted a little bit, and I'm sure you guys have too. It's called Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah, they do an episode.
Yeah, I've seen it promoted. Yep.
Yeah, they've got that. They've got another one called Primal, and one that I found to look really interesting called Le College Noir.
I've seen Primal, one episode.
I gotta tell you, just looking at this little demo they're running through here, I really like their style. It looks like it could be really fresh for Star Wars.
I could see this as like a they're gonna draw out the story, and then there's just gonna be like a narrator over the whole thing, you know?
Yeah,
I think that would be a lot of fun.
And what I'm seeing here too is like a wide range. It looks like story types. We have like kind of a darker thing here. We have a much more childlike.
Do not put that bad juju on us, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no joke. This is gonna be all over. They're gonna be like, man, these idiots couldn't say any of their names right. It's true. Studio.
No, this looks fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like. And another thing, to Jimmy's point, the fact that they have products on Netflix, it kind of shows me they've built a reputation and that they're delivering. And so Disney is kind of tapping them on the shoulder too. So a French representation on the animation front. I really like all these. Just visually, I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing so far. Slight nuances between the difference, but there's definitely a style behind it that I really like. So this one is looking encouraging to me. Okay, next up, can I pronounce this one? I can.
I think so.
88 Pictures. 88
that was
Pictures.
Tough one. Yeah.
Jimmy, tell us about 88.
88's from Mumbai, India.
Nice.
They've got a lot of stuff on Netflix, and a lot of it's really good animation. They've got stories such as Troll Hunters.
Yeah, that is actually good. I've actually watched Troll
uh,
Hunters.
Wizards Tales of Arcadia, and Rise of the Titans.
Let me go ahead and pull them up. So that's actually very interesting. I didn't realize they did Troll Hunters because I have watched Guillermo del
Say
Toro.
a lot of the stuff is with DreamWorks as well. So
yes,
wow.
Yes, it is 100%. It was like DreamWorks and Guillermo del Toro came up with Troll Hunters. So it's definitely aimed at a younger audience, but it's a lot of fun. So they have some. Ooh, that's a great shot. We should pull this up here.
A lot of color there that I liked.
Yeah, let me get that bigger frame up real quick. Now, I got to tell you guys as I'm pulling this up, as everyone here knows, I have fallen in love with RRR, which is obviously an Indian film. So now my standards and expectations for Indian media are through the roof. So I am now extremely excited for anything I see that is based out of India. Here we go. So I'll pull this up here. There's a shot here in a second that in particular I think looks really, really fun. Yeah, like there we go. We got some nice visuals in there. So it looks like they're gonna have more of a 3D animation style, as opposed to more of a hand drawn. But they can do some fun things. Yeah, Troll Hunters is a fun universe. It is a lot of fun. Again, Guillermo del Toro. Man, if he has something, you got to be paying attention.
Say all you got to do is give me good animation with a lot of shiny colors, and I'm just like, it's amazing. Like, look at that.
I had no idea they're based out of India. As I was watching this, that's actually really interesting. So we shall see what they bring to the table for Star Wars. I'm expecting, like season 1, there will be like 1 or 2 episodes that are just absolute home runs. Just ones that like the community universally loves. And I have no idea, based on the very little we know, what studio that will be, obviously. But I will tell you, I have a strong suspicion that Aardman is going to generate a huge reaction just because of their reputation. And anything they do is just going to get a big reaction from the audience. Last one up.
I'm not going to put my eggs all in that one basket. You never know. Even from an established studio, sometimes, you can't predict what's going to hit or miss with audience.
Yep.
So I'm going to be like, okay, let's see. But I think with this second season, I'm going to lean definitely more towards traditional animation because I just want to see that explored more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll call it Steve's comment here, which I definitely can empathize with. He said, one tiny gripe I have is that, season 1 had a lot of really great episodes that left with cliffhangers, and I really want to see how those end and those themes. My expectation, I agree with you. There's, as we've talked about, some fantastic universes that I'd love to revisit. My expectation is we will. I have a strong suspicion in season 3 or 4 of Visions, they'll kind of come back and they'll start. I don't think season 3 will be like the continuation of every episode from season 1, but I think some of those storylines will be continued or referenced. And that's kind of my prediction. It's not based on anything we've been told, but I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, but I also share Steve is that it's a bit frustrating when you get something so awesome like
Home
the
runs,
Ninth Jedi, what we all love. It's like, dude, come on, like convert it to a full show. I am greedy like that. I want to see more of that story. And it's almost like a tease. It's almost like a like, hey guys, here's different, pieces of
here's
animation.
The best cake you've ever had.
You're never gonna get a continuation.
Here's the best. Hey, you know what though? It's a big like don't be careful what you wish for all those fans who are like less Star Wars is more. They're like, oh yeah, well less of this is more. We're leaving you wanting a lot more. You're not going to get saturated on Ninth Jedi. You're getting 10 minutes and that's it. And everyone's like, oh.
I'm gonna be the sourpuss here because I don't think they need to continue them. I think if we're going to get more seasons of Visions, they should just focus on other studios from other countries and just make this a big cultural project.
Yeah.
Because we were never guaranteed other episodes of anything. We were never guaranteed any continuations.
Right.
We were lucky to get the prequel stories that we've gotten for the duel alone, the book and the comic, I mean, sure, those stories are great, but, first time a filler episode comes on. And what is anime notoriously known for?
Yeah. I see both sides. Like I'm part of it. Part of the fun is like, it's this bite. It's this fleeting, amazing moment. And it leaves you wanting more, right? It's like, oh, wow. I totally get that. And I also get the flip side, which is like, oh my gosh, but like, I kind of would love if they did like a series based in this universe. I could see, great opportunity in both.
So now, don't get me wrong. If they announce they're going to make full-fledged seasons out of everything, of course I'm going to be excited.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna in the moment just realizing.
I think, Jim,
Yeah.
what you're saying it's
expect it.
that it's sometimes fans feel so spoiled and privileged, like, hey, where's more? Well, like it's that dissatisfaction that you're speaking against. Like, hey, look, we got something amazing and fresh and different. Just be content with what you have, and let's keep it moving and keep exploring and keep doing different things.
I guess that's kind of fair. Just because like when I watched Vision season 1, and I mean I've made videos of it before. Like I would love to see them continue.
Right.
I shouldn't expect it to.
Yeah. No, understood.
That's not how it was advertised. It's an anthology for a reason.
So the last studio, I actually know very little about.
Same.
So they are from Madrid. They're headquartered in Madrid, is what I found out. But they don't really have a lot of details out there for me to share.
It's called El Gire.
El Gire.
El Gire Studios. Yeah. The only thing I could find on them was that they specialize in pre-production for high-end CG animation. Yeah. Somewhere along the lines of my research, it looked like they made a short film or a movie or a TV show or something that was just called Sith. I don't think it.
Well, no. Wait.
I don't know if it had any correlation to Star Wars at all.
So what you've seen is one little fun bit I didn't bring up yet.
Okay.
Is today in the article they tell you the title of everyone's episode.
Well, why didn't you start with that?
And El Giri is titled The Sith. The writer director is Rodrigo. Yes. So we know a little bit about and the reason why is I didn't realize they put every episode title out with the studio until moments ago as we were searching.
Oh, okay.
So they are doing a short called.
I'm buying a ticket to
called The Sith. So here's a little detail. So Rodrigo Blas is an Emmy award-winning director who spent more than 20 years in animation. After co-founding Stromboli Animation, he joined Blue Sky, worked on Ice Age, then he worked with Pixar. He worked on Pixar. He worked with Pixar on Finding Nemo, Incredibles, Ratatouille, and WALL-E. He partnered with Guillermo del Toro to develop the award-winning series Troll Hunters. So he also worked on that. So very cool. Sith El Guerra from Madrid is El Guerra? I have no idea. Is titled The Sith. Nice. Cartoon Saloon. That is our Irish soft animation studio. Theirs is called Screecher's Reach. Take with that what you will.
Creature feature, 100%. It's going to be a monster episode.
That sounds like it.
That sounds like fun.
Punk Robot, our Chilean studio, who has all sorts of different animation styles. They are doing In the Stars. Okay. Aardman, again, British humor. Theirs is called I Am Your Mother. And I wonder what they're going to be playing with there. But it already kind of sounds like they're going to lean into the kind of goofy. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be really sweet.
I think that's going to be a cute, goofy parody of some sort. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Studio Mir, the South Korean studio, is Journey to the Dark Head. It sounds. I'm in. That sounds dope.
Sounds ominous. Yeah. Studio
La Cache, our French studio, who I thought had really nice hand drawn. They did Love, Death, and Robots or whatever. Theirs is called The Spy Dancer.
If that's the most French thing I've ever seen.
Kind of does sound.
And yeah, I'm here for it.
Very, very exciting. 88 Pictures, our Indian studio. They are doing The Bandits of Golak. Okay. Studio, again, this is our Japanese studio. Oh, that's interesting. So this is that DR Taijo and Lucasfilm. So I don't know. That's the only one that's listed like that. So maybe they have a partnership already.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Theirs is called The Pit. Okay.
What's it say here? Thomas is a part of the franchise studio team at Lucasfilm. Who is Thomas? Leandre Thomas is an award.
Leandre Thomas, he's the
director
producer
from Oakland, California. Heck yeah, for Oakland.
Thomas is part of the franchise studio team at Lucasfilm. Yep. He's working on 11 years, and he's credited on Mando, Kenobi, Tales of the Jedi, and Light and Magic. Okay. So he works for Lucasfilm.
And who's this Justin Ridge person I'm seeing here?
He's an executive producer, The Enemy, the Emmy-nominated series Resistance. His credits also include Rebels, Storks, The Cleveland Show, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Avatar: The Last Airbender. So he's been around a lot of anime.
Okay, so the pitch is going to be good.
Yeah, that's a pretty stacked crew.
Yeah.
So Triggerfish, which is our studio from
That's South Africa.
South Africa. Theirs is called Au Song, which does sound like it has an African influence in it. Ben, to your
that could be like
kind of
a bent on maybe like a African folk tale, something like,
Let's just take a moment to think about the types of music we're going to get to hear with all of these.
Ooh, good call.
It's going to be cool.
Well, that's actually a great call, Jimmy, because as you know, the soundtrack for season 1 is on repeat in my head all the time. Village Bride and others. So
Village Bride just plays in my head rent free.
Yeah, that's a really good call. The shorts included in Star Wars Visions Volume 2 were created by the following international animation studios. Yep, Spain, Ireland, Chile, UK, South Korea, France, India, Japan, South Africa. And then D'Art Shitagio's short was created in collaboration with Lucasfilm in the US. So every continent represented in this project.
There's the one that was in California that we couldn't figure out.
Yep. Everyone is represented. So let's read this quote here before we wrap up. The reaction to the first volume of Star Wars Visions blew us away. We were delighted that this project inspired and resonated with so many people, says James Woe, Star Wars Visions executive producer and senior vice president. At Lucasfilm, we always saw Star Wars Visions as a framework for celebratory expressions of the franchise from some of the best creators working today. Animation is in a global renaissance, and we're constantly staggered by the amount of creativity pushing the medium forward. With Volume 1, the imaginative minds of Japan's anime industry were on full display. With Volume 2, we expanded our canvas to take the audience on a global tour of some of the most talented creators from around the world. We're so proud to be able to reveal the lineup of studios we've assembled. Every short is incredible, full of heart, scope, imagination, and the values that make stories distinctly Star Wars. All while opening up bold new ways of seeing what a Star Wars story can be. So there you go. I am most excited for the Sith because this guy, I have seen none of their work out there, and he's worked on Ratatouille, Finding Nemo, Incredibles, and WALL-E, and you're going to tell a Sith story? I'm in 100%. I am so in on that. It is not even close.
Would you take it if the actual Sith is his dog?
100%.
Yeah, okay.
100%.
A dog Sith. And he barks throughout the whole episode.
You sold me.
It's filmed on Fruit by the Foot.
It's filmed by Fruit by the Foot. Yes, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think that'd be a ton.
The one thing I want to make clear to the few people that are watching right now, it's important to understand, specifically with this season as opposed to season 1, that these are all going to be passion projects from these studios from around the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I am so afraid of the backlash that this season's going to get because it's not all anime or no one asked for this and, insert negative comment here.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that these people have dreamed of doing, and they're getting to put their own culture, their own ideals into something Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Be respectful of that. Everyone wants the chance to do this.
Yeah.
Is it going to match up what you want? More than likely, no. But it's still going to be something incredible because it's a passionate project from someone way across the world that loves Star Wars just as much as we do.
One thing, Jimmy, if you don't mind, I want to riff off of something that you just said. I completely and wholeheartedly agree with you because I grew up during a generation and time where we were exposed and introduced to all the cultures of the world, and you kind of learned with them. And when you grow with something like Hans Christian Andersen's folktales, for example, you learn to understand and respect other cultures. But in the same vein, I think it is also very important, particularly for a project like this, to not just have a confetti of a Star Wars of everybody just tackling it and putting their own spin on it. Mm-hmm. I think each one of them, their task, their obligation to George Lucas, if no one else, forget the fans, just to understand and respect what Star Wars really is at the core, not the surface of it, because you could kind of veil it with the cultural, ethnic music or different, costumes and art styles that represent all real world cultures of the world. But I think the heart and soul behind every episode needs to say, we know the source, we know where Star Wars comes from, and here's our own unique take on it.
Yeah, Star Wars Vision Season 1 did, even though every project felt totally unique, did all feel like Star Wars.
That's why I think the first season worked so well, because even with that the Astro Boy looking episode, which all three of us were basically saying, maybe it's not for us adults, but I'm sure there were kids out there, which it was basically a window into Star Wars.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Because like one of the complaints that I saw about season 1, which I don't understand really, is like, could we get anything that isn't just Jedi and Sith? That's what all these episodes were. So you want to go to this studio that's never gotten to work in this IP before and tell them you can do a Star Wars project.
But you can't do Jedi.
Don't do this. Don't do the one thing it's known for. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, what's good is, and I think Jimmy's highlighting, some of the negativity. I think, at least in my limited experience, Visions versus some of the other projects, because Visions is kind of a niche and the people watching it are really like kind of the most, I don't want to say the most hardcore fans, but the fans who eat it all up and kind of want to find all of it. It felt like the reaction was very heavily positive. Outside of maybe 1 or 2, it felt like the community was kind of like, oh, this is a really cool effort. And so I hope it kind of keeps that same kind of positive energy, because it is fun. It's a lot of studios who are just giving it a shot. Like, oh, here's what we would do if we had the IP. Like, here's what kind of stories we want to tell. And because this is not canon, they're free. They got a lot of freedom here to just tell really good stories. And that worked so well for season 1. So my expectations are high for season 2. They really are. And I'm a believer that we'll get more than just 2 seasons. I really do. I think it's probably
we're gonna get season 3. The logo's gonna be green.
Yeah,
flip this now. So when it happens, just know I was right.
Blue season 1, red season 2, green season 3. Purple season
we're gonna
4.
Get purple.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love it.
They're
a
gonna
lot of fun.
They're gonna flip them.
Yeah, I agree. I think the big takeaway though is if Darth Barkus actually happens, it's canon, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's actually fact. I take back what I said. Like, Darth Barkus is canon.
I like that name. Yeah,
I love it. Very good. Okay, that wraps up Vision season 2. That's fun to look at some. Just last closing thought as we transition. It is kind of fun. Just the fact that these studios just got us 3 who've never, outside of Aardman, have never really heard of any of these studios, spent time looking at their work. Like, what a win for those small studios. That's got to be so cool for them, where it's like people are Googling us for the first time, like looking at some of the cool things we've made. Like, they're going to get a really big bump from this. So that's got to be really cool.
And that's the thing. I don't even know if I can say that they're small studios, because a lot of them just have partnerships with like DreamWorks and Netflix, Now,
small presence in the West.
There you go. I mean, and that's fair, because like I've heard of one of these studios. Well, 2, I guess, but still, now I'm like, I want to check out what you've done.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the fact that like I know where I can find your short films and all that, like, absolutely.
Yeah, big win for them. I mean, it's probably giving them a ton of exposure, and it's a good college. I mean, they're big in their own countries, and we might be seeing their animation and not even know it's them. So, but this gives them some real name exposure. I hope they're. I bet it's awesome to work there right now. The excitement, energy is probably really high.
And they're just making like when it's a project like this, they're putting their all into it, and they're just like hyped the entire time.
Yeah, it's got to be so much fun. It's got to be so cool. Ben, get on the animation project, man. We're waiting for the Gabbing Gonks episode.
The dark Barkus.
So the dark Barkus. Okay, brief topic change because I don't have a ton more to say on this that probably hasn't been said, and I think we'll all agree here. I'll switch our background, and I will pull up our statement here. Jedi Survivor was pushed back from early March to April 28th. So not a huge delay, a minor one. I'm going to go ahead and share this note. It's so small here. Give me a second. Let me make it a little bigger.
How long is that delay? Is it like 3 weeks?
I think it's 6 total. That's what they said. Or maybe they said the next 6 weeks. The 6 weeks were used at one point in the article, in the release. So I'm going to quickly read through this for those who didn't watch my quick video earlier this week. This is from EA. It says, for the last 3 years, the Jedi team here at Respawn has poured its collective heart and soul into Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And we are proud to say the next chapter in the tale of Cal Kestis is content complete. We are now focused entirely on the final stage, bug fixes to enhance performance, stability, polish, and most importantly, the player experience. Jedi Survivor is a direct response to the feedback from our community, delivering expansive destinations to explore, evolved combat and traversal, and of course, the continuation of Cal and BD's story. Making this game has truly made us a better team, and we have pushed ourselves at every level to make this Star Wars sequel our fans expect from Respawn and Lucasfilm games. In order for the team to hit the Respawn quality bar, provide the team the time they need, and achieve the level of polish our fans deserve, we have added 6 crucial weeks to our release schedule. Star Wars Jedi Survivor will now launch globally on April 28th. Thanks to EA and Respawn for giving us the time to deliver the best experience for our players, and for all of you for understanding. May the Force be with you. Yeah, like I think this is a good thing. It's just that simple. I just think this is a good thing. I wouldn't care if it was 3 months delay. I really wouldn't. I would rather have right now, and I said this in my video, we live in a time where a game's reputation can be killed in a week if the launch is disastrous. I had Cyberpunk on my PS5 on opening. It was much more stable on my device than a lot of other people's. I beat the game fully, put like 80 hours in it, beat every side quest I could. I loved the game. I thought it was phenomenal. I love the story that my character went on. But that game's reputation was in the toilet for about a year and a half. It's just now recovering.
Yeah.
And that's a hugely respected studio in CD Projekt Red, who made one of the most beloved series of all time, The Witcher. So that's a studio that had such goodwill with the community and completely burned it for 2 years.
Yeah.
Just now earned it back. They are now, the Steam reviews in the last 28 days, like the last 3 months, are now overwhelmingly positive because the game is finally stabilized. They're finally releasing some more content. I don't want that for Survivor. I don't want these studios who publish these games to like be afraid of future projects because they rushed a game out and it was a terrible experience and it's getting ripped by the community, ripped by content creators, ripped by reviewers, and this game never has a chance on what is kind of universally praised as one of the best Star Wars games we've ever had. So that's my long-winded answer. I think this is good news. I don't think it's bad at all. It's maybe kind of a bummer and like, oh darn, I won't get to play it sooner. But I mean, Mandalorian releases that same week. If I'm desperate for Star Wars content, I got some to get me through. So yeah, I'll open it up though, guys. Do you disagree? Or are you on the same page?
No, I'm 100% on the same page. I mean, yeah, it sucks that I'm not going to be able to play it when I thought I was, but I mean, let's be real. Like when you said like I would take a 3-month delay, I mean, I think I would too, just to give myself a bit of a breather before moving between Star Wars projects. You know, that's the only downside, and I guess that's a good problem to have. But
it's true.
I mean, like, hell, the fact that they're just even coming out and saying like, "Hey, this needs to be delayed. This is why." Like, I know that's like a more common thing for studios now. I just appreciate that they're, you know, just not like, it'll come eventually. You know, they're just being open about it. Yeah, this is to fix some bugs. It'll be out in 6 weeks. Be like, good for me, man. Thanks.
Good call, Jimmy. I forgot to highlight that. I like the fact that they were like, hey, we're not adding things to the game. It's buggy. It's not stable. We're trying to fix that. Okay, thanks for the transparency. Like, I'm good. I feel good.
In the scope of gaming industry, 6 weeks is nothing. I personally had to wait for 20 years to get my Final Fantasy VII remake because I always knew it was one, even from its announcement in 2014 or 15, I think. Still 5 years of waiting just to get the game. I have maybe 300 plus games in my catalog that I have to beat. There's not any shortage of games out there. We could wait 6 weeks. It's just, I hope, and I'm trying to stay as positive as I can, despite of amazing talent roster behind EA, it's those studios that I recognize and love, like my favorite BioWare. I don't trust a word EA says, and I never will. My relationship with that studio is null. It's non-existent. So I just hope it's not a scenario where they're trying to be forthcoming, and when the game comes out, it's still riddled with bugs, as has been a case over and over and over again, and not just with EA. Other studios as well. They try to be like diplomatic about it. Hey guys, here's extra 6 weeks, while behind the scenes the project is crashing and burning, which I hope, fingers crossed, because once again we had Jedi Fallen Order come amidst the EA debauchery where they were throwing comments around like, oh, single player games are not popular anymore, we're just gonna do multiplayer. Like, what?
It's like,
what are you thinking?
Run right here.
So as far as EA aspect of this statement, I was completely tone deaf to it. I'm not hearing any of it. I'm rooting for Respawn, and I really want this game to be great. Honestly, guys, if it took another extra year, because I logged onto my YouTube and I started seeing everybody's thumbnail, Star Wars Theory, these guys, those guys. Oh my God, delay. I didn't even look at the dates. I was thinking to myself, oh shoot, it's probably pushed back to like 2024. I'm cool with it. Like, I'm fine.
I agree.
6 weeks? What? Like, it's a blink of an eye.
Now I put a sad thumbnail too because unfortunately you got to get people to click on the video, and if your
Yeah.
face is like
No
no
you're
one's gonna,
clickbaiting them.
yeah,
Okay.
you are. You have to. I mean, no one's gonna click on it if you're like game delayed. I'm totally cool with that. It has to be, and then you're like, hey, Ben, you made a fantastic point. We don't have to beat this to death, but Ben, you said something that I totally agreed with in my video, which was I'm actually worried 6 weeks isn't enough. Like that sounds like
Yeah.
nothing. I
Yeah.
have worked in IT before on big projects, and Ben's worked on big projects, and Jimmy's worked on like 6 weeks goes by like that. It just flies by. So I'm hoping the 6 weeks is more because they specifically noted the fact that they wanted to give the team they need. So my hope is that the stability fixes are close, but they didn't want to have their team working 80-hour weeks for the next 3 weeks to get there. Like, let's spread it out. We have plenty of time to hit this. That's my hope, is that's the reason it's only 6 weeks. And so like, hey, we're really close. We're tuning some of the performance, but we don't want to push our team to death in the next several months. That's my hope. And that's maybe optimistic. That's my hope.
Yeah.
Jedi Survivor. One of my most anticipated Star Wars project of the year, because the first one was just so phenomenal. So
absolutely.
Closing thoughts, guys. Bad Batch episode 6. I think I liked this episode more than I saw people talking about online. I thought this episode was like a home run. I loved this episode. I thought this was such a fun episode. I'll bring in the Gungy in the background here.
Mm-hmm.
What I really liked about this episode, though, all jokes aside, is when you get exposure to a character. It's a Wookiee Jedi, right? So it's already kind of a big deal. He's been seen in the Clone Wars. There was just so much to me. There was such a sense of fun when watching the episode. The stakes were serious. Like it wasn't a light episode. Like there was death and consequence, and seeing what happened to Kashyyyk with like, I love the fact that Trandoshans just partnered with the Empire and just like ravaging the planet. Like it fits so well. I'll let you guys talk more about maybe Kashyyyk and what's going on there with some of the creatures, but I absolutely just felt like the stakes were important. It was a well-paced episode, and I just had such a fun time watching it. I absolutely love Gungy. I think he's just amazing. I think he's such a cool character. I said yesterday my video was short. I was like, I want more of him. Give us a little Tales of the Jedi arc with him. Give us a 3-episode Tales of the Jedi. Like, what did this Wookiee Jedi who lost all of his family and all of his Jedi mentors in Order 66, what did he do on Kashyyyk for the rest of his life? Like, what was his experience? Was he like a protector as they took down Trandoshan raiding parties? Like, oh, it's so good. I just, my imagination ran wild. And that's, I think, a huge compliment to the episode, is it gave me that Star Wars excitement. So I love this episode. I thought it was a ton of fun. I thought the music was extremely strong in this episode, and the visuals continue to blow me away. What did you guys think? Episode 6, one of my favorites so far.
So I had a triple deja vu with this episode. 2 of them were awesome. The third one, not so much. The first deja vu was a Jedi Wookiee. When I see a Wookiee with a lightsaber, I automatically go to Tales of the Young Jedi Knights. Kevin J. Anderson, Chewie's own nephew, Lobaka, is a Jedi. I'll never like replace him with any other Wookiee Jedi. I see him in every other Wookiee Jedi that I saw. Like, oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Second deja vu with which before we started rolling, Jimmy and I were like spazzing out over this. We got awesome Legends creatures coming back all the way from KOTOR game, right? These are Kinrath, these arachnids that you meet in the actual game, Knights of the Republic, and you bust their ass and you look at this episode. Oh my god, the KOTOR game. They know, and actually,
they're just as creepy.
And they're just as creepy. I just looked it up. They were intended to be in the original Clone Wars show before George Lucas sold it. They were in those unmade, unfinished episodes, which I guess they kind of brought them back and showed us a little bit of Legends here. The third one, here's the thing, guys. I felt that the past 2 episodes,
Wait.
There we go. Kinrath. Yeah.
You're right. That is absolutely what it is.
Just creepy monsters.
Yeah. All right, sorry, go ahead.
The previous 2 episodes, their own quality of storytelling aside, I felt taking me out of the experience, because we're going to these fetch quest missions, diversion missions, which don't progress our story forward. And it's one thing to be completely picky about it and just, grind every episode. Oh, this is wrong, that is wrong, and point out every detail. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just sitting there for the ride, not trying to anticipate or predict an episode. But for 2 episodes in a row, I felt like this show is just going somewhere where I honestly don't care. With this 3rd episode, we're sort of making the U-turn. We're back on track. We're back with the Bad Batch doing their not fetch quests, their missions, because they're trying to accumulate resources, right, to start fighting this empire. But when you see Wookiees being rescued, which we sort of saw in Rebels, and I believe we also saw, right, there's an episode with Ahsoka where Trandoshans are hunting Wookiees and other younglings, and Ahsoka is there to rescue them. It starts feeling like we've treaded that path before. I'm like, okay, all right, they're gonna hit this emotional note there, and they're gonna bring him home. It's not a bad episode. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, perhaps when we frequently mention that Star Wars fatigue, this is one of the episodes that would do it. And once again, it's a solidly made episode. I'm not criticizing it. I'm saying is, maybe if you don't have another creative, powerful story to tell here, maybe we hit pause even on Disney Plus. Remember how sometimes you would have like shows back in the day, animated or live action, where they would skip a week. And like, oh my God, where's my show? You would go crazy. Your floor would just completely disappear under you, and you would be excited waiting for that show again. I guess I miss those times. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm extrapolating too much from it. Maybe I was excited when we used to wait for something on a weekly basis. And in case of this one, here it is, here it arrives. And I feel like, okay, all right, that's some cool episode. Let's get more.
Yeah. So to go on your point and then pass over to Jimmy, first of all, understand your opinion, right? You're entitled to be like, hey, if I'm taking your point, it's like, I want my Star Wars to feel intentional in storytelling and feel like it has something to tell me and deliver on that. Not that it has to fill an obligated 30-minute slot every week. Right. So I can absolutely understand that. I obviously really liked the episode. It to me harkened back to the Clone Wars, where it's like, hey, we have a mission that is showing you the war across the galaxy and what's at stake and how it's impacting different cultures.
And guys, to be clear, sorry, John. To be clear, I did enjoy the episode.
Understood.
Yeah.
No. And I know, you were providing very light feedback. You're not saying it was a bad episode or it looked bad or it was a bad episode. You're saying, hey, I personally, I don't need Star Wars for the sake of Star Wars. I think some of you always say, you just want quality storytelling. Jimmy, how did the episode work for you, my man? Did you enjoy this one? How did it rank for you so far?
I think you're both just completely wrong. The show is perfection, you naysayers. Now, here's the thing. I want to start real quick with last week's episode because we didn't get to talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead. That was a great one.
I really liked it a lot, even though, was it filler? Yes. Was it great? Absolutely. Was it heavily based on the Lord of the Rings? Yeah.
And Indiana Jones. 100%.
We'll say the heart of the mountain.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones. How so? I don't see similarity.
Out of that, but I think that episode being filler, sure, but it set up something so big. I don't think any of us can actually comprehend it. Really? Regardless of if this, and I say that including myself because I don't know what's going to come out of it.
You're still talking about episode 5, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Making sure. Go ahead.
This giant monstrous robot that they awake out of this mountain that just starts devastating everything. Everyone's already made the connections to the Zepho from Fallen Order. Is that what it is? I don't know. Would I like it to be? Yes. Because they say, when they entered into this place that it predates the Republic.
Yeah.
Now, in the new canon, the Republic came into order 25,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. This predates that, going way far to an area we haven't discovered or discussed at lengths at all. And this is the kind of technology they had then. This is up there, with the Rakatan Empire and what happened.
Right.
In the
That's what I
Legends
was thinking
timeline.
of. Yeah.
So I really think they're setting up to give us a lot of information on an ancient side of Star Wars predating the Republic to all these massive empires that stood well before that.
Yeah. And
I think we're going to get something fantastic out of that. So that's why I think everyone's just like, this is just filler. It's boring. I'm like, do you not see what robot? Look at this thing. This existed 25,000 years ago. And it does
if I may interject just a tiny bit. Sorry, Jim. I completely agree with you, and I hope this is the case, and I'm proven wrong, that they're not just riffing of this, doing this one-off kind of like episode. If they start riffing off of it in the same season and bring it back and start developing the story, then I'll say, oh, you know what? I jumped the gun. Jimmy's absolutely right. This was going somewhere. I guess I didn't see it in the scope of that one story. So I was like, if that's the end of it, they just close the lid on it, then it's not really effective. If it indeed goes the route that you're saying, then I'll completely eat my words.
So let me add a little more context to that point. I don't think that means that we're going to get more on this particular creation in the Bad Batch. I'm just thinking in Star Wars in general, we're going to at some point we're going to come back to this ancient side of it. And I always overthink this stuff and go way down the rabbit hole when you start mentioning times in Star Wars and they're like, oh, this is from the old Republic. I'm like, really now? Or, this predates the Republic. And I'm like, I'm sorry, how old is this thing?
Yeah, that's pretty old.
So that's what gets my mind start going real fast. And I'm like, they're giving us this. Like, we got it in Zepho. We got it here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're wanting us to know that they're trying to build up a lore of these world-ending ancient beings that existed well before anything that we can comprehend.
Good point.
I mean, I think up until this, I think the oldest thing had to be the Dawn of the Jedi comics and the books, which were like, I think 27,000 years before.
To put the tinfoil hat on and further support you, Jimmy, like Andor also referenced ancient
the Rakatan Empire. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not crazy here, guys.
No, they are, and I think I think it's fun.
Trying to be like, this is like the ridiculous stuff that existed well before laser swords, well before hyperspace travel. It's going to be something crazy. Now, moving on to this week's episode.
Yes,
it was awesome.
Good talk though, Jimmy. I'm glad you called that out.
That's why I was just like, we got a lot to talk about in that episode. We didn't stream, fair enough. And so for this episode, bringing Gunji in, perfect. Great character. Going to Kashyyyk, I thought was great because have we been there at all in Clone Wars? I can't remember.
What was the episode where they're hunting younglings and it's Trandoshans and
that was on a Trandoshan planet?
That was on Trandoshan.
Right. That wasn't Kashyyyk. Okay.
No, it was not.
No, but I see the connection. Yeah. So especially since they had the Trandoshans here, so I'm like, well, I mean, I know they're like a hunting race of whatever.
Mm-hmm. And there was Wookiee rescue episode in Rebels, right?
There was the Wookiee rescue.
They were rescuing those slaves. Ezra fighting on that platform.
Yeah, I don't know if that was on Kessel or on their way to Kessel, but I know they were talking about that's where the Wookiees were going. So I think that was intercepted before they got there. But yes, to your point. So that's what I really liked about this because we got it in the Aftermath books and we've seen it between canon and legends that like once the Empire came into power, like they just went straight to Kashyyyk and were like, wood for the fire, quite literally. Slaves for the slave building.
Yeah.
Win-win. So, they enslaved the Wookiees. They ripped down all the trees and literally used them to fuel furnaces. It's messed up. So seeing that, this is directly after the Empire comes into power. So like the Imperial presence around Kashyyyk is not the biggest right now, but it's going to as the years go on. So seeing it in this early stages where they're teaming up with Trandoshans to just slaughter the Wookiees is just wild.
I've always loved.
I loved seeing the KOTOR call back with these creepy spider things because I was like, yeah, these are a little creepy. But the whole time I was like, I've seen these before. I've fought these before. And then like that, I got real like sci-fi monster movie vibes from when the Sci-Fi Channel did all those giant spider movies when they encircled that Trandoshan, wrapped him up, and then brought him back up into the tree. I was like, that was a bit morbid.
Yeah.
I've always loved the idea that there's just these planets close by, one full of Trandosha, one full of lizard people, and Kashyyyk, one full of Sasquatches, and they're just mortal enemies to the death. They just hate each other, and they just have war. It's just such a simple
it's a
concept.
Classic Star Trek motif. Yeah.
Yes, I love it. I just love it, and I love the fact that even in this war, this point of history, because this conflict goes back thousands and thousands of years, and it's what we're seeing in this episode is a snapshot of a war of two people, and at this time, the Trandoshans had the upper hand because they aligned themselves with the Empire, where they could storm Kashyyyk. And it's like, what kind of battles like were this, hundreds of years earlier? I just love that kind of implied history here. I don't know. That stuck out to me. I love that idea that you have these two warring alien species just next to their in like internal conflict. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. So aside from my old cynical self, I would say that so far both episodes that we are talking about today they're still work. They're still good episodes.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess some of my initial first response is coming from the fact that the first 3 episodes were like, whoa, just like on a different level. Tonally, they took you so far down that Imperial rabbit hole. You're like, oh my God, that's what the Empire is doing. You sort of kind of want to continue with that feeling. And then we sort of like change later.
What's funny is I've noticed in episode 3 in particular, which was the Crosshair episode, which was, phenomenal. In season 1, I did not appreciate what Crosshair brings to the show. With him being less prevalent so far, I think that's a presence you miss in these episodes. It's something that stuck out to me. Not that I don't mind that they're waiting for him to come back. I don't need to see him every episode, but it's just an interesting thing I noticed was like, I actually miss seeing this character in these tales. That stuck out.
I definitely think we're going to get more of both Crosshair and Cody and the Bad Batch in the rest of these episodes, since we were already is it 18 episodes?
16.
16. Okay. So we're already a good ways in, and it's just going to get, deeper into the story at this point. So I think, we got some light filler in the beginning that's going to set up some stuff that we'll probably see in future Star Wars projects down the line. But I think we're definitely going to start getting into the heavier, thicker side of the story, and it's probably going to get real sad.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Jimmy.
Just, take a guess here.
No, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I don't know if you guys realize this or chat, you guys might.
Oh, is next week a 2-episode week?
Next week's a double episode, and it is called The Clone Conspiracy and Truth and Consequences, which sound like heavy episodes.
Interesting.
That I'm very excited for. So a 2-episode premiere, a 2-episode midpoint, and a 2-episode finale. The Summit and Plan 99 sounds so tantalizing. But it's
I'm gonna
see what you're doing there.
I'm gonna cry and I'm gonna throw up. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remembered there was a mid-season like double episode feature, but I just didn't know when it was coming. So
yeah, it's next week. And the Clone Conspiracy, Truth and Consequences sound kind of like a Cody Crosshair types of episodes, which I am very excited for. So anyway, just wanted to call that out. Something to get really hyped for next week.
Yeah.
The Summit.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it'll be good. I think one thing that stuck out with me this episode is I just had a really fun time being back on Kashyyyk, seeing this. I'm probably gonna do a poor job of articulating it, but one thing that is a positive and negative of Star Wars is because we have this giant spanning galaxy with huge intergalactic conflicts going on. You can sometimes lose sight of like, okay, we look at our world, we perceive our heroes as like, what's going on here? Like the stakes of our planet are bigger than anything to us, right? And in a galaxy that's shared like Star Wars, individual planets can almost become trivial. Like, it's and so I love this idea that Kashyyyk, like they have like this hero now, like this hero of Kashyyyk who can have his own legacy. And we're kind of spoiled as Star Wars fans because big important characters go across the galaxy. They save hundreds of planets. But like to a Wookiee, to someone on Kashyyyk, like your battle with the Trandoshans, the Empire, is all that matters. Like we don't need these large prophecy type fights like Luke and Vader to have stakes. Like, and I think we lose that in Star Wars sometimes. Which again, I love the huge conflicts. And I love the huge scale of the conflict or stakes of the conflict. Excuse me. But we sometimes lose like, hey, there are just planets out there just trying to make it. And with this kind of visit that hit me where I'm like, oh, what was going on with, where was Gungi in these final battles? I'm like, well, maybe it doesn't matter. Like maybe he was just on Kashyyyk as they recover and give his people kind of a new path forward. So anyway, that kind of stuck out to me. And so that's maybe why I like the episode so much. It was just a fresh kind of feeling for me.
I really hope that, like, Gunji is able to, rally what's left of Kashyyyk to try to stand and fight against it. And hopefully, since Gunji was helped by the Bad Batch, that he's able to be explained, like, no, these particular clones disobeyed those orders. This is what happened. Because, I can't imagine the rest of the Padawans that trauma on a level hitherto undreamt of, as compared to, some of the adult Jedi, Obi-Wan excluded. But, you're just kids.
Yeah.
And then this happens.
Yeah.
Josh,
I mean, think about.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was to say, think about. You're right, Jimmy. Like Gunji's story is like, I'm a child who's like, all their loved ones are dead,
and I just want to hold him. And
it's like I've grown up in war. I've been raised by battle. It's funny. I love it. Anyway, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I was gonna also add to what you were saying is I completely agree with you. That sometimes the most powerful, memorable characters are the ones that share on intimate story, a story that is not necessarily highlighted in the annals of the Jedi heroes. And the perfect illustration is one of my favorite canon novels, The Dark Disciple, where we see Quinlan Vos. And man, what he accomplishes there, maybe will never be like in the Jedi archives as the greatest Jedi, but he really pulled through and he came in at the crucial moment, and maybe his personal battle, fighting for his soul, not to fall into the darkness and bring this woman from the darkness, right, the Asajj Ventress, and accomplish his mission. Maybe it's tiny, like a microcosm of what the intergalactic war, but it's so memorable, it's so relatable to us, where sometimes we can see ourselves in Luke Skywalker, who basically destroys the evil empire, or sometimes you could see a bit of yourself also in this Quinlan Vos, who's behind the curtains and he's doing this thing not to get praise or thank you, or so all the Jedi would like bow to him, but because he has to. And it's such a human quality that I agree with you. The more small stories like this we get, the better.
Yeah, it's the blessing and curse of a large connected galaxy where hyperspace travel is possible, and you can instantly get to other universes in seconds. The conflicts of one world can seem so small based on the scale of battle. And one thing animated Star Wars in particular excels at is showing the consequences of war. And Andor did a fantastic job of this as well, and that's maybe why I rank them so highly.
Yeah.
Is we've seen even in episode 3 with Crosshair, you have this separatist planet that now is like just getting hosed by the Empire. Like, we think so high level. We think with the biggest players. We're sitting there with Luke. We're sitting there with the leaders of the rebellion, Mon Mothma. But like, what about Billy, who's just trying to go to work, like his whole home planet's destroyed? And that's what I loved about Andor. What I love about the Clone Wars is the Clone Wars planet hopping style represents like what the cost is that we can forget when we're up, at the top.
I mean, Luke starts as Space Billy, right? I mean, A New Hope. He's a nobody.
That's true. Yeah, that's a great point. So anyway, I like that about Star Wars animation and Star Wars shows in general. I think they do a good job of showing the consequences of war, and it enhances to me Luke's victory. Like, these were the stakes. Yeah, it's easy, and I say this like kind of humorously, but like, it's easy to just see a laser beam hit a planet and go boom. I met no one from the planet. I don't know anyone from that planet. Who really cares, right? But knowing what these other planets were subjugated to, knowing what these people fought for, knowing how they were betrayed, knowing how their ideals were hijacked and turned into this evil empire, and knowing, like, watching Andor and seeing how people are being imprisoned and forced into labor camps, like, again, real things that have happened in our history. It's like, okay, these stakes are bigger than like, we make planet go boom, it's like, that's such a simple, what it actually is really deep and terrifying. So anyway, that's kind of why, that's one of the reasons I like seeing these different planets. Like Kashyyyk's battle is just trying to get the Trandoshans off their home world. So anyway, that's why I thought it was a fun episode for me. So, well, thank you guys for being here. It's a long stream. I had a lot of fun talking about all visions. There's a lot of studios that are involved that I'm very excited about for this season, and I'm very excited that we're going to see. I'm going to be exposed to cultures that I have no idea what their animation or what their kind of content is like. And so it's Japanese has become anime has become very mainstream here. So even with Visions, even though it was definitely different culturally, anime is something we've grown up with here in the US. And so these projects, studios from Chile and from France, those are going to be South Korea. Those are going to be really interesting to see what they can produce and kind of inspire me here. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. Any other thoughts, guys, on Vision Season 2? And thank you, Blue Milk Mama, for coming. I'm sorry about to wrap up. When it's done, you can go back to the beginning and talk about every single studio.
It's nice. It's been a while. It's
long
really great
conversation tonight.
Yeah, it was a lot of visions. Anything else, guys, before we wrap?
Guys, if you've thought you would never see a space dog called Darth Barkus, just prepare. Season 2 Vision, it's coming.
That's the next emoji we need. We need a Gonk droid, and then we need Darth Barkus,
and we need Ben and Andor.
Let's see if I can doodle something for our next stream. We'll do a little Barkus.
Yes, I like
say Gail just got an iPad for free because she's in college.
Yeah.
Nice.
So she's been drawing like crazy. She's like, I can make emojis for your Discord.
Yeah, give us Darth Barkus. I'm in 100%.
Let's make a challenge. Gail
Who can do the best Darth Barkus?
I'm going to draw mine. We're going to compare our Darth Barkus.
Well, see, I already know what Darth Barkus should look like. So
you do now.
I'm going to tell her
the challenge is on. All right.
Oh man. See, that is, and people who joined later are like, what the heck are they talking about with Darth Barkus? Well, thank you guys for being here. Seriously,
if you made it to this point, comment Darth Barkus.
Yeah, if you made it, if you rewatched it, if you're watching the recorded version of this and you see you made it this far, Darth Barkus down below. Hey, it's gonna be a fun weeks, guys. Big 2-parter Bad Batch next week. Mando coming March 1st, and then April we get Survivor. It'll be a lot of fun. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being in chat. It's going to be a nice year. We're looking forward to it. See y'all again